Before the internet had a face, before everything had photos, profiles, and verification badges, there was Craigslist. Just a simple white background, black text, and an anonymous email address. No faces, no reviews, no ratings, no real way to know who you were actually dealing with. You posted something. Someone replied. You arranged a meeting, and that was it. That was the entire foundation of trust. For most people, most of the time, it worked out just fine. A used couch found a new home. A room was rented. A job seemed legitimate. A simple transaction completed without incident. But every once in a while, someone would stumble into a listing that looked completely ordinary. And what waited on the other side was anything but. Some of those people got out with just a bad feeling. Others were never the same again. Tonight, we are going to explore 5 real accounts. 5 stories gathered from old forum posts, listener submissions, and forgotten news reports. Some names and details have been changed, but the events, the fear, the unease, those remain true. I'm your host. This is The Scary Collector. And these are 5 true Craigslist horror stories. Story 1. The Roommate AD. Her name was Mara. She was 24 years old, fresh out of college, and had just moved from a tiny rural town in Idaho to Portland, Oregon. She had landed her first real job at a graphic design firm, but she was running out of time and money. With only $1,840 in her bank account and no car, she desperately needed affordable housing. So she did what thousands of people do every day. She opened Craigslist. The listing that caught her eye was unusually cheap. A private room in a house on the east side of Portland, $475 a month, all utilities included. In a city where even tiny studios were going for over $1,200. This felt almost too good to be true. The ad was short and simple. Room available immediately in quiet East Side house. $475 per month. All utilities included. Looking for clean, quiet, respectful female roommate only. No pets. No smoking. Room is furnished. Shared kitchen and bathroom. Contact Ellen. There were no photos attached. Mara hesitated, but the price was too tempting to ignore. She sent an email. Ellen replied surprisingly fast, within 20 minutes. Her message was warm, almost grandmotherly. She said she was a 61-year-old retired schoolteacher who had lived in the same house for over 30 years. She had been renting out the spare room since her husband passed away. Mostly for the company, she said. They arranged for Mara to come see the house the following Saturday. Mara told her friend Dion about the listing. Dion checked the address on Google Maps and said the neighborhood looked normal. She offered to drive Mara there, but Mara insisted she could go alone. She promised to text Dion the moment she arrived, and again when she left. Saturday came, gray and damp, the air heavy with the smell of coming rain. Mara took the bus and walked the last 2 blocks. The house was an old craftsman style, weathered but still standing proudly. There were copper wind chimes on the porch, but the air was completely still, so they hung silent. She knocked. Ellen opened the door almost instantly, as if she had been waiting right behind it. She was shorter than Mara expected, with short white hair and eyes that seemed unusually sharp, unusually watchful. The house smelled of lavender soap, but underneath it lingered something heavier, older, like years of closed-up memories. Ellen gave her the full tour. The kitchen was dated but clean. The living room felt crowded with old furniture, yet strangely empty of any family photos. Not a single picture anywhere. Then Ellen opened the door at the end of the hallway. This will be your room. It was decent-sized, with a bed, a dresser, a small desk, and a window that looked out onto an overgrown rose bush. The thorny branches pressed right up against the glass, like fingers trying to get inside. Mara noticed something that made her stomach tighten slightly. The lock on the bedroom door was installed on the outside. You could lock someone inside, but there was no way to lock the door from within the room. She pointed it out. Ellen laughed lightly, a very normal-sounding laugh. "Oh yes, the last tenant had that put in. Silly, isn't it? I'll have it switched before you move in. Don't worry, do." Mara told herself it was nothing. She told herself $475 was worth a little eccentricity. She texted Dion, "It's fine. A bit old lady weird but fine." She took the room. Mara moved in on a Tuesday. At first, Ellen was pleasant and kept mostly to herself. She even left home-cooked meals for Mara sometimes. But slowly, the atmosphere began to shift. Mara would come home and notice small changes in her room. Her laptop moved a few inches. The chair pulled out when she was sure she had pushed it in. At first, she blamed her own messiness. Then she noticed the window latch was broken, and Ellen never called anyone to fix it. One night, around 2 in the morning, Mara woke up suddenly. She heard slow, careful footsteps in the hallway. They stopped directly outside her bedroom door. She lay frozen in the dark, heart pounding, staring at the ceiling. After what felt like forever, the footsteps moved away, and a door closed softly down the hall. She told herself it was just an old woman using the bathroom. Nothing more. But sleep did not come easily after that. 3.5 weeks later, Mara came home early with a terrible migraine. Ellen's shoes were gone. She was out. Mara opened her bedroom door, and there was Ellen, standing at her desk, quietly going through Mara's personal sketchbook. The one she kept hidden in the top drawer. "I was just tidying up," Ellen said, her voice perfectly calm, perfectly composed. Mara's blood ran cold. She called Dion immediately. "I need to leave tonight." While packing frantically, Dion discovered something scratched into the lower corner of the window glass. Small, desperate letters, carved deep with something sharp. "Do not sleep." Later, Mara found old forum posts from previous young women who had lived in that exact room. They described the same things. The outside lock. The feeling of being watched. The things moved while they were gone. One of them had left the same warning on the glass. Mara never learned what Ellen was really doing in her room at night, and she was grateful she never found out. Story 2. The furniture. Nothing on Craigslist lowers your guard quite like the word free. Kyle was 27, newly moved into a bare one-bedroom apartment in Minneapolis. He owned almost nothing, just a mattress and a folding table. So he started browsing the free section every day. One listing caught his eye, a solid wooden armchair with nice carved details. The ad was simple: free. Must pick up today. No delivery. He drove over that evening. The house was a double bungalow, one side dark. The seller told him to come around back to the garage. Inside the garage, under a single work light, sat the chair. But the garage was filled with many other items. Dozens of different chairs, lamps without shades, stacks of empty picture frames, and along one wall, dozens of pairs of adult shoes, neatly arranged by size and style. A tall man in his 50s stepped out from the shadows. He introduced himself as Daniel. He said he was clearing out inherited items, and Kyle was welcome to take anything he wanted. Kyle only took the armchair. When he got it home, the chair had a strange warmth to it, and a faint smell, like someone had been sitting in it not long ago. His normally fearless cat, Clifford, refused to go anywhere near it. That night, Kyle had an extremely vivid dream. In the dream, he was sitting in the chair, paralyzed, unable to speak or move, and he could feel someone standing directly behind him, watching, for a very long time. He woke up drenched in sweat. The next day he researched the address. The previous owner, an elderly woman, had died alone in that house. She wasn't discovered for 2 to 3 weeks. Kyle quietly put the chair out on the curb with no note. It disappeared within the hour. 3 days later, the same address posted another free item. A lamp, without a shade. Kyle flagged the listing, but he never knew if it did any good. Somewhere out there, someone else is probably sitting in one of those inherited chairs right now. While in that garage, the neat rows of shoes continue to grow. Story 3. The job. When you're desperate for work, you become willing to overlook red flags. Renata was 26, recently laid off, and her savings were running dangerously low. She found a Craigslist job posting for a personal assistant. $22 an hour, mostly remote, some discretion required. The employer was a man named Marcus Hale, a private financial consultant. After a smooth phone interview, he offered her the job immediately. The first couple of weeks felt completely normal. Then the in-person tasks began. She had to pick up sealed packages from FedEx locations and hand them off to strangers in public coffee shops, using specific code phrases. Marcus always paid on time, but something felt increasingly wrong. When Renata started investigating, she discovered the company didn't really exist. The address was fake, the phone number was a Google voice line, and the domain had been registered only months earlier. She found an old Reddit thread describing almost the exact same operation, linked to moving forged financial documents. She had been signing her real name on packages that might have been illegal. Renata immediately cut contact and hired a lawyer. The investigation lasted 14 long months. She was never charged, but the experience left her deeply shaken. She still keeps printed copies of every email, stored safely in a box. Her warning to others remains powerful. If a job listing emphasizes discretion multiple times, pays significantly above market rate, and you've never met the person face to face, ask every single question you're afraid to ask. Because the thing that makes you uncomfortable is almost always the thing you most need to know. Story 4. The Meet. Jade was 31, a single mother trying to downsize and sell some items on Craigslist. Most of her transactions were perfectly normal. But when she listed her daughter's old children's bike, the replies took a disturbing turn. One message came late at night, asking far too many personal questions. Was she home during the day? Did she live alone? How secure was her building? She ignored it. Then another email, from a different address, asked almost the exact same questions. Jade started checking every reply she had received that week. 3 different emails, all asking about her schedule, whether she lived alone, and access to her apartment. She noticed something subtle but unmistakable. All 3 emails contained the same hidden string of characters. It was the same man, using multiple accounts. Instead of staying silent, Jade decided to act. She created a fake listing for a piece of furniture she didn't own. She arranged a public meetup in a busy grocery store parking lot in broad daylight. She had a large, trusted male friend park nearby and watch. When the man finally arrived, he scanned the lot carefully. The moment he spotted her friend watching, he froze. After a few tense seconds, he got back into his car and drove away quickly. Jade noted his license plate. She went to the police the next day with full documentation, screenshots, and timestamps. The suspicious messages stopped after that. Jade shared her story publicly so others would recognize the pattern. Those overly personal questions in the very first replies. They are not normal buyer questions. They are reconnaissance. Trust your gut. Document everything. And never be afraid to set a trap if something feels deeply wrong. Story 5. The House on Weller Road. This is perhaps the most unsettling story of the night. Dev and Simone were in their early 30s, tired of Chicago apartment life. They found what seemed like the perfect 6-month rental. A beautiful old farmhouse in rural Wisconsin. $800 a month. Large yard, peaceful setting. The landlord, Conrad, seemed like a straightforward older farmer. They drove up, viewed the house, and signed the lease. For the first 23 days, everything felt like a dream. Their beagle Pepper loved running around the big yard. Then, without warning, Pepper began refusing to go outside after dark. She would tremble violently at the door, ears flat, tail tucked. A week later, Dev discovered a hidden door in the back of the garage. It led down into an old root cellar. The stone walls were covered, floor to ceiling, with tens of thousands of small vertical tally marks. Someone had spent years, possibly decades, counting something down there. Conrad claimed it was nothing, just old tenant graffiti. But then the nighttime sounds began. From underneath the house, they would hear rhythmic knocking. 3 knocks, a long pause, then 3 more knocks. The dog refused to go out at night. The heavy shelving unit blocking the cellar door started moving by itself, inch by inch. One evening, Dev found the cellar door standing slightly ajar, even though he had locked it. They made the decision to break the lease and leave as fast as possible. Months later, Simone dug deeper into the property's history. In old 1950s county survey records, she found a chilling handwritten note in the margin. Cellar lower level, locked. Surveyor declined to enter. Tenant request. There was another level beneath the cellar. Beneath the concrete seam that always felt unnaturally cold. Dev and Simone have never spoken about that house again. Some experiences, once they enter your mind, refuse to leave. The tally marks. The knocking from below. The door that opened when no one was there. Those things still live with them. And probably always will. 5 stories. 5 seemingly ordinary Craigslist moments. That slowly, quietly, opened the door to something much darker. Craigslist still exists today. The white page. The black text. The anonymous emails. Most interactions are still completely normal. But every now and then, someone replies. And the story changes forever. Mara escaped with only nightmares. Kyle got rid of the chair, but still thinks about that garage. Renata survived the investigation, but never forgot how close she came. Jade turned her fear into preparation and protected herself. Dev and Simone drove away, but what remains beneath that farmhouse in Wisconsin continues its patient counting in the dark. We don't always get clean endings. Sometimes the only victory is getting out alive. And sometimes, even that leaves marks. I'm your host, the Scary Collector. If you're ever driving away from something that doesn't feel right, keep driving. Don't look back. And maybe, just this once, think twice before clicking on that free section. Stay safe out there.